Hi, my name is Cheska Hrupcin, and I'm a senior here at Telluride High School. And I did my internship with the Brosi Lab at Rumble doing entomology research.
Cheska, talk into the microphone more.
Oh, okay, sorry. So Rumble is the Rocky Mountain Biological Laboratory in Gothic, Colorado, and it's just right outside of Crested Butte. And then I worked with the Brosi Lab, which is a laboratory within the University of Washington. My mentor was Chris Anderson. There he is. He was actually a previous Pinhead intern. He's from Norwood. Yeah, it's pretty cool. He went to Harvard from Norwood School, so that's pretty neat. And he's currently working on getting his PhD in ecology. So our project was, so I worked with Chris Anderson and another college grad, Bucky Squire, on finding out whether a diversity in pollinator visits affects the seed production in different plant species, and we primarily worked with 3 different flowers. We worked with Delphinium thalianum, potentilla, and linum. So field work, typically a regular field day, we do like maybe 4 days out of the week. We would have all of these camera trap systems, which were actually made from old plumbing equipment, and they have code in them with a Raspberry Pi, and we would go out into the field. It's like a little hike into these different plots, and we would stake down these cameras and point them at all of our different flowers, and then follow like a schedule depending on when we would open them up to give them like opportunities for pollinators to land. We also had this tent, which was deemed the Thunderdome, and this was like kind of our controlled environment, and we would go out with like butterfly nets and capture different pollinators and put them inside along with the cameras in order to film flowers in there. Then I also got to work with a different team on the Brosi Lab, and we did a lot of sampling. So there's 2 different kinds of sampling. There's networking and sweeping. So between these 2, sweeping's where you like go over a specific plot and sweep with a butterfly net and try to get as many insects as you can just flying. And then you vial them, ID them, and like write the date. And then sweeping is where you just have a stopwatch and you watch for an insect to land on a flower, stop the stopwatch when you find one, capture it, and put it in a vial. And then on Fridays was our lab working days, so we would take all of the samples that we previously caught and ID them. We would pin a lot of the insects that we found and identify them. We would also pin some species, mostly these butterflies were just like practice. And we also got to use a centrifuge, which is basically where you'd put the insect in a little soapy water vial and spin it around, and it would separate the density from like the liquid, in this case it was pollen, to identify what flowers each insect was visiting. And then I got to come back to Telluride for a punk science. So I worked with an amazing entomologist, Christina, and of course Sarah. And we set up an entomology booth in Mountain Village, and we had these really cool like cases of pin bugs. We had live insects, and we also did a little presentation at the library to just basically show kids like anatomy and the importance of insects within our ecosystem. Then outside of my internship, I got to hang out with the Brosi Lab. This is us all getting ice cream. I was in Crested Butte during the Wildflower Festival, so it was such a beautiful time. So I did a lot of hiking, went up to a bunch of lakes, I went to the farmer's market a bunch, and I also got to hang out with my host family, who was Jessica, Gennari, and Paloma, and we got to go to like some local concerts. My advice for future Pinterns is to ask as many questions possible. If you're confused, you don't want to like do anything wrong, so definitely like get out there and ask your mentor. They're never going to be annoyed. If an opportunity presents itself that you weren't necessarily like expecting, you should definitely take that. Chris actually taught me some R, which is coding, which had nothing that I wasn't like planned for my internship, but that was a super cool part of it. And make sure to get to know your team members. You're gonna be working with them, so be super friendly when you first like get there, because you're gonna be with them for like 6 weeks, like every single day. So it's important to like make those connections. And yeah, make sure to pick up with your host family and and also take initiative when you're within your internship, like clean, just do small little tasks, and it's super helpful. And thank you so much to Sarah, the entire Pinhead Institute, Chris, my mentor, my host family, the Brosi Lab, and Rumble.